First of all, thank you very much for KOHLER and for Monocle for inviting me here to Dubai. It's always a pleasure to be in Dubai. Certainly the weather's a lot better than it was in London yesterday, so it's great to be here. This is a picture of our offices in London. As Rob said, we're an employee-owned company. We employ about 80 designers in this building, and we have an office in China as well. One of the main themes of PriestmanGoode is always thinking about how to make things better, improving the world if we can. And I think designers are increasingly having more conscience about what they do and the effects of what they do and design. I'm going to go through a number of connected items and some really, I think, very big issues that are facing the planet and humankind. The aging demographic, people are getting older. And one of my passions in life is public transport and cities and congestion. What are we going to do about it? And you see this item here. And this is all about how you can keep people keeping active and mobile. And I believe that there's a link between keeping healthy and perhaps commuting and moving about a city. So if we can encourage people to walk further distances or use items like this, then we don't need to build as many stations, we don't need to build as many trains, and it eases up the whole system. This project was funded by the Design Museum in London and asked us to design this object. And it was really inspired me to design this because I saw the little kids going to school on their microscooters with their mums in the morning. And then I started to see young adults going to work with scooters on their backs. And so what stops people scootering in life? And it's design. The people that stop riding bicycles and scootering are concerned they're going to fall off and injure themselves. So design can actually design those issues out. So with our particular design, it's electrically assisted, it can take you home if you want to, and it won't topple over. It also has a little shopping basket you can take on the bus, and encourages people to get out there. You can also take it inside your apartment so that there isn't this sort of object sitting outside an old person's home saying, vulnerable person lives here. So there are lots of issues here, but it really is to do with how you extend the infrastructure and public transport. Another one of my passions is sense of place. We design trains and metros all over the world. This is the new Tube for London, which we've recently designed. And I think one of the lovely things about traveling around the world is that obviously you go for food, you go for culture, but also if you think about the public transport, you know, you could go to London, you go on the London bus, you go to Hong Kong, you go on the tram, and think about all the buses, you think about the tuk-tuks in Thailand, you think about the vaporettos in Venice. These are all forms of public transport, but they're enjoyable. And as designers, it's great to design things which have a sense of place, and also things that actually have a sense of quality. And one of the interesting things about London is that we can have fabric seats. And I believe that's through design that people have respect for that environment and it's not damaged. This is the new tube, the new metro in Hong Kong. And again, a different look, a different feel, and very Hong Kong. And as a designer, I think that's a really interesting dilemma. It's not just designing something because I like it. You're thinking about the people that use it and making people's lives better. In improving the lives of millions and millions of people every day. They might not know that it's slightly better, but it is. These are high-speed trains in China, between Beijing and Shanghai, one of our designs from a few years ago. And these are sorts of things that we design. They're very big projects, they involve thousands of people, and as designers we sort of manage the process. We also have ideas for the future. And this was a concept which you might have seen before, but it's an idea I had a few years ago. So wouldn't it be great if you could get on a tram outside this building and then seamlessly travel to another city or another country without stopping? You know, I believe that railway systems are a bit sort of pre-internet. They're a bit disjointed. The first railway platform, railway station, was actually built over 180 years ago in the UK. And that's still the same model. Why? You know, since then we've invented the aeroplane, we've invented the car, but the railway systems still stay the same. So this is really just an idea, let's put it out there, say, why? Let's see what we can do. We also work in the aviation sector. One of our big clients is Airbus. We've designed all of these aircraft interiors for them. And it's a really interesting area because it's a massively weight-conscious area, so reducing fuel usage and efficiency improvements. Earlier this year, there was the launch of the new Qatar Q Seat, which is a business class seat which we designed and engineered. And basically it's a business class seat that allows 4 seats to combine into one central area. I don't know whether anyone's travelled on this particular seat. And then it converts into double beds if necessary. And this is actually in service now and won a number of awards earlier this year. This is for OBB, which is the Austrian Railways. And the reason I'm showing this is because it's the reinvention of sleeper cars. So instead of rushing to a meeting or trying to get to another city quickly and then having to stay in a hotel and then going to a meeting and then going back into a hotel again, why not travel on the train, sleep overnight and get there on time? You're saving time, you're saving money. And this is an initiative, but it's very, very Austrian. And this is a concept which is taking that 4-module sleeping bay where you have no privacy into using exactly the same space, but you have sleeping pods in its place, so that you have your sleeping areas which close off and then storage between, but it takes up the same amount of space. Other areas that we're working in is what are we doing about overcrowding in public transport? Of course, public transport's great, but many people have an issue with the amount of people using it. So what are we going to do? How are we going to get the grit out of the system? How can we reuse what we've got better and more efficiently? And I believe sitting is something that is almost outdated now. I mean, you may have heard the phrase, sitting is the new smoking, because it's so unhealthy for you to sit. So if you look at youngsters now, they don't sit, they lean, they slouch, but they do anything but sit in a seat. So why not reevaluate this? So this seat transfers from take the slow road off-peak into a high-capacity seat. And it's the same seat, but it allows 30% more capacity on the same trains. One of the projects we've been working on is Hyperloop, and we were commissioned to design the capsules for this particular system, obviously in the news with the announcement in Dubai. So we designed all of the exterior, and then we're working on the interior as well. And this was the launch in Spain about 3 weeks ago of the first full-size prototype, passenger prototype. And what's interesting about this design is the slight lines on the design, which give it a slight sense of personality. It's not just that little lift as it comes up to the front, makes you warm to the object. And this is another real interest of mine, that subtle things can relate to human instinct and make you feel differently about an object. Why do you feel impassive about one object and why do you like another product? And that's purely about design. It's very interesting. It doesn't cost any more, but it's the skill of the designers. I'm going to finish off now with this last project, which was launched in Hong Kong earlier this year, and within a week it had 1 million downloads on the internet. Did you know that every time you make a purchase on the internet, there's a little van that clogs up the streets? And statistically, congestion in cities is caused by a lot of it by delivery vans. And I'm always interested that the congestion is at ground level, so what if we could raise that up and use the space above us in some way? And that concept that we launched is really taking all the technologies out there and then trying to re-own it. Because I've got this feeling that it's going ahead, but without designers' input. So this idea is it's leaves in the wind, it's soft, it's analog, it's not large metal objects dashing about. The other interesting thing about this, I find, is that all cities were built on rivers or by the sea, like here in Dubai. And those used to be the highways. They were the motorways of old times. So why can't we reuse those? So with this particular concept, the drone delivery barge comes along free from people, and the drones pick up their packages, recharge, and then go off to their delivery area. And then everybody might have their own drone, which they look after at their residence or at their office. It's a bit sort of Owl Harry Potter-like, that this thing is sitting there, but it's waiting there to go off and do your deliveries. So those were some of the issues I wanted to bring up, and it brings us back to congestion is where I started, because I think this is all interconnected, and that's what designers are good at solving. Thank you very much.